Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be showing you the ultimate prom makeup look to do yourself. I'm surprised I haven't done one of these before. This is going to be the ultimate glam. You can even use this for a graduation, any sort of special occasion. Let's get into it. So I had my prom back in 2015. This was my makeup look. I actually need to find some photos. I actually can't remember that well what I did. I don't think it was that bad. You have to think it was different times. This was 2015, okay? And I had just started playing with makeup, kind of learning how to do my own makeup. But I was very proud of myself. That was 10 years ago now. Oh, if I was going to prom today, this is the makeup that I would do. This is the sort of glam that I always bring out on a special occasion. We're going to start with the brows and go in with the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter. I'm back to doing my brows before I do anything else. I don't know why I stopped doing it. I just feel like it's so much better to put on brow gel on a clean base. Because if you've got moisturizer or foundation or whatever in your brow hairs, it just doesn't stick as well. And this way, if you get it on your skin, you can always wipe it away with a little Q-tip. I forgot to zoom in 1 second, guys. Just running this through my brows. I want them to be quite natural and just how I usually do them every day. To prep the skin, I've got my winning combo right here, the Rhode Glazing Milk and the Rhode Barrier Cream. For the makeup to look good, the base needs to be well prepped. Also, because we want this to last and look good all night long. Just starting with this is such a nice moisturizing, I don't know, it's like an essence or like a serum. I don't actually know, but I don't have another product like this. It is just the most amazing product. If I were to recommend anything from Rhode, it would be the Glazing Milk. And I'm just being careful to go around my brows because obviously we already put in some brow gel, so I don't want to be messing that up. That's kind of the only downside to doing your brows first, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I feel like it's worth it. I'm also going to bring it down to my neck and to my kind of décolletage area. Well, it depends what dress you're wearing, but I've got on this, like, it actually looks like I'm naked, but I've got on this like strapless pink dress, so I'm just going to make sure that my whole kind of chest is looking glowy and nice. Then going in with the moisturizer as well. We don't need that much because we already put, the Glazing Milk is already very hydrating, but I want my base to be very hydrated. The key to your makeup looking good is always skin prep and just taking care of your skin in general, and same dragging it down. And while I'm kind of letting that soak into my skin, I'm just going to go in and do some body glow. So obviously our whole kind of décolletage chest area is out, so I want that to kind of look good as well. I've got this Eau de Janeiro Rio Sunset Glow Oil. Such a stunning product, and it smells incredible as well. I feel like it smells like the original, yeah, it says here the original 62 fragrance, which is like the yellow one that everyone loves. I'm just gonna do a little bit, maybe 2 pumps, and just blend that all out over my chest. Also on my shoulders and my neck. Beautiful. I feel like my chest is still a bit red. It's just like my skin is so sensitive. Whenever I touch it, it just turns red. Don't worry, it'll look better in a second. Let's jump into foundation. I'm gonna go in with the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. This is a great foundation for like a full glam moment. It doesn't look heavy or anything on the skin. What the hell is going on here? Oh, it's not gonna look heavy, but it is still like a full coverage, maybe like a medium coverage foundation, and it's gonna last all day, all night. Blending that out with my Huda Beauty foundation brush. This is my new favorite foundation brush. I've got like 3 of them for some reason, but it makes it so nice and easy to blend out foundation. And just makes it look very nice and even with no brush strokes really. I still always go over with a beauty blender, but this brush is honestly incredible. Foundation is on. Time for concealer. I'm going to start with the NARS Pot Concealer. This is the Soft Matte Complete Concealer, and I'm just going to take a little bit with my finger, and I like to apply this on any spots that I have. I'm just gonna let that sit for a little bit while we do our under eye concealer, if you can see that at all. For our under eyes, I'm gonna go in with the Huda Beauty Full Filter Concealer. This has been my new go-to favorite concealer. It's incredible. I don't know why, for the longest time I didn't really think that I liked this, and then I gave it another go and I was obsessed. I'm just gonna put a dot here and here, about this much, and then I'm gonna do a little line leading upwards for a bit of a lifted look, and just a tiny bit here on my forehead to brighten up a little bit. I need to clean my lips because this is actually driving me crazy. I feel like I look like I've got no lips on. Now we're gonna let that sit for a little bit because I like to let my concealer marinate as you guys know, because I feel like it brings out more of the coverage once it dries out a little bit. But I am going to start blending out my spot concealer just with a little fluffy brush, and I'm just going to kind of diffuse the edges because we want to keep most of the coverage actually on the spot. So if we can keep most of the actual concealer just where it is, but just diffuse the edges so that it blends out into the foundation, that is what we want to do. And then now, once our concealer is sat and marinated for a tiny bit, I'm just going to start blending out my forehead concealer first. And while I'm doing this, I'm also kind of blending out the rest of my foundation a little bit because I like to go over everything with a beauty blender. And then we're doing the under eyes, and I'm tapping very lightly, trying to keep most of the coverage where I actually applied the concealer because that is where I need the most coverage. And then once I get to the end here, I'm blending it upwards to kind of keep that lifted look that we were going for. Once that's blended out, I like to take whatever's left of my beauty blender and just go over my eyelid lightly. We'll probably do a little bit more concealer later on the eyelid as like a base, but this is just to kind of blend everything out seamlessly. And the other side. That's all blended out. I like to just kind of go over the rest of my face just to make sure there's no brush strokes anywhere and everything's nice and blended. I am, however, going to do a little double layer of concealer. I do usually do this because my under eyes are quite dark, and I just put a little tiny bit either side here, let that dry out a little bit again while I do my cream bronzer. For my cream bronzer, I'm going to use the Rare Beauty bronzer stick. This is in the shade Happy Soul, and I'm applying it on like all the high points, and I want it to look lifted and very bronzy. I'm just going to apply a line in the middle of my cheekbone and just draw it upwards like this. Another one here, and then I like to go from the center of the top of my forehead down here. Same on the other side, up, up. I like a little bit of bronzer on my jawline as well, just to kind of tie it all in together. And then for my nose, I'm just going to draw a little V on the bottom of my nose like this, and then a little on the top of my nose, and then I like to draw two very small little lines down my nose. To blend out the cream bronzer, I'm using the Mario F4 brush. I always get asked about this brush. It's the best brush for cream bronzer and blush. I like to use the bigger side for bronzer and the smaller for blush, but just starting to blend that all out. I always like to blend it out in the order that I applied it in, just to make sure that, you know, like the first line that we applied gets blended out first so it doesn't dry out or anything like that. And for my nose, I like to take a smaller blending brush and just kind of lightly blend that out so I can be a little bit more precise with what I'm doing. And when I'm blending the lines here, I like to also drag it up to my eyebrow just to make it a little bit more natural. And now we can actually blend out the little concealer that we put on our under eyes. And again, just tapping very lightly, trying to keep it at the same point. I've been saving cream blush as my last step recently, so I'm going to go straight in with powder. And obviously we're going to use the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Powder. What can I say? When the day comes that I use another powder in one of my videos, that'll be a big day. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Just making sure there's no creases on my under eyes. Going in with a powder puff, and I'm just taking all the excess, putting it on my hand right here, and then going in and really pressing it into my under eyes. Same on the other side. I'm really focusing just on my under eyes right now because that is the part that always tends to crease the first for me, and this is like where I mostly need the powder because it's really gonna blur and brighten our under eyes. Once I feel like my under eyes are all set, I'm just gonna take a bit more of that powder and go around my nose. I like to go around my mouth as well because I don't really like to be glowy or shiny in those areas. I don't want to lose all my glows. I'm going to be careful with how much powder I'm using, but I also wanted to photograph well. There's a really fine line because if you're very glowy, sometimes with flash photography it doesn't look the best because it can just make you look very shiny and maybe a bit more like sweaty. And especially if you're going to prom, you're going to maybe be like dancing or whatever, and you're going to be wearing it all night as well. You just kind of want to take a bit of precaution, maybe bring a powder with you. Anyway, I'm doing my forehead as well, center of my forehead. I'm trying to keep like the perimeter of my face basically powder free. And now when there's like a little bit left of my powder puff, I'm just gonna go over the rest of my face, but very lightly, and also over my nose. Lastly, I'm gonna take a little bit just on the tip of my powder puff and use that to kind of lift my under eye here like this. It's gonna be very subtle. Like once we dust this off, you can barely see it. It's just going to be very subtle, but I feel like it does still make a difference in feeling more lifted and snatched. I'm just going to let this sit for a little tiny bit, but then we're going straight in and just dusting off the excess powder. And now we're going to go with setting spray. I'm going to show you a couple different ones throughout this video because I do have a couple favorites, but I like to do setting sprays kind of in between makeup steps as well to really make sure that we're locked in for the night. I'm going to go in with the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray, shaking it up and just spraying it all over the face. Once that's all dry, we can go in with powder products. The reason that I want to do both cream and powder with bronzer specifically is because I feel like it creates a lot more depth, and also it's going to make it last longer. And for a look like this for prom, we're not afraid to look like we're actually wearing makeup, so we want it to look makeup-y, if that makes sense. Because I know a lot of people struggle, like they just put on their makeup and it always just looks the same as their everyday. But using the right amount of the product, and sometimes a bit more than you think you need, and also doing layers, so like a cream bronzer and then a powder bronzer on top, stuff like that really helps making it look a bit more full glam. I've got a couple bronzers to kind of choose from. I want to do a glowy bronzer. I've got the NARS Laguna 01, and then I've also got the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette Volume 2. This, I forgot about this for so long. I don't know why, it's just been sitting in my drawer, and recently now I've become obsessed with it again. This is what she looks like, and this bronzer is incredible. It's not very dark though, so that is why I also have the NARS Laguna 01. A little bit darker and more orange. They literally look exactly the same on camera. I don't know if you can tell, but maybe it's just more pigmented as well. I think we're gonna skip out on NARS today, even though I love her, but we're just gonna do the Hourglass palette because this is beautiful. It's gonna give us the most amazing glow, while also obviously because it is powder, it's going to kind of set the bronzer in place as well. I'm just taking the darkest shade right now on my brush, and then I'm just going to kind of dab it on to my cheek wherever I applied the cream bronzer before. I just realized my nose contour really is not blended well enough. That's embarrassing. I'm just being super careful not to swipe that much because we obviously haven't like powdered this area really, so if I start swiping it's just going to move the product underneath. I'm going to apply it on my forehead as well. Well, yeah, just basically wherever I cream bronzed before. I just want to be careful not to put way too much because this product can get a little tiny bit muddy if you use too much of it, just because it is such a glowy product. A tiny little bit on my nose as well. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this middle shade, and I just kind of like to use this to blend out the bronzer. I just kind of diffuse the edges of it to blend it in better with my skin. And this also, again, does add a bit of glow. And then I'm actually going to take my Huda Beauty Easy Bake and Snatch powder. This is a pressed powder version of the loose powder. This is in the shade Pound Cake. I am obsessed with this powder. I don't use it very much. I only really use it when I'm doing something like very full glam. Just taking a little bit. This is actually the Makeup by Mario F2 brush, and I'm going to use this on my under eyes and kind of to carve out my nose contour a little bit. Just looking up and then also dragging it and kind of lifting like before. And this makes a very subtle difference, but it just really brightens everything up, and this also photographs beautifully. Honestly, I never hear people talking about this powder, and I'm actually obsessed with it. I'm also going to do a tiny little bit in the center of my forehead, and then I'm going to do a little bit underneath my bronzer just to kind of clean it up a little bit and make it look a little bit more sharp and lifted. Beautiful! Skin makeup's almost done, but we have some steps to do at the end. But I'm going to move on to eyes now. First of all, finishing up my brows. Obviously, we already put the brow gel at the start, but I'm going to quickly fill them in with the NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Pen. I like my brows very natural, so I'm just going to draw a couple little hairs at the ends of my brows and extend them the tiniest bit, like so. For my eyes, I'm going to start with applying a little bit more of that concealer, just a tiny little bit to my lids to make sure we have a nice base. I'm going to use this palette right here today, the Morphe, what's this? Gold Secret palette. It just has like most of the shades that I would ever need. I love it. I use it way too much. Starting with this shade right here, like a warm light brown on a fluffy brush like this. This is Morphe M441. I use this brush for everything. It's so good. And just lightly starting to blend into my crease. Now we're just keeping it kind of messy. We're not doing anything too precise just yet. I'm just doing circular motions in my crease right here, and then I like to kind of drag it up to my brow towards the front here, but leaving a bit of space for my brow here, if that makes sense. And then I also like to kind of fluff it out and towards my cheek bronzer just to kind of make it a bit more of a seamless blend. And I'm kind of blending it onto my actual lid as well. I'd say onto like the middle of my lid, cleaning my brush a tiny bit and just blending it until I'm happy with the blend. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of this shade right here and just start darkening up the corners a little bit. This isn't a very dark shade, but we just want to keep it subtle for now. Just kind of dabbing this in the corner here, and then kind of slowly starting to do the circular motions again, blending it a little bit towards here and a little bit out, but I'm keeping it mostly in the outer corner. And then we're doing a little tiny bit right here. And also I forgot to mention, this little brush I'm using now is Morphe M456. I'm just gonna actually take the first brush that we used, kind of diffuse that a little bit more and blend it together. And we put them side by side so you can tell the difference. I like to use a smaller one when I'm doing something a bit more precise. Same on the other side. And then to finally darken it up that tiny bit more, I'm taking a teensy tiny bit of this darkest shade right here. Actually, I'm going to mix these two together. And this is the Morphe M506 brush, and it's a teeny tiny blending brush. Again, I'm just focusing this in my outer corner, but also kind of blending it along my lash line. We don't want to take this one high up at all. We just want to keep it right here. And then again, taking the first blending brush and using that to diffuse this into the other colors. I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to quickly do my lower lash line by just taking the smaller blending brush again, taking the first shade. I'm just focusing this on like the outer edge of my lower lash line, not really bringing it all the way in, but just focusing it here, fluffing it around, and then taking a tiny little smudger brush with this shade and just buffing that along my lower lash line as well, just very close up to my lashes, and again not bringing it all the way into my inner corner. Actually, let's take a tiny bit of that darkest one. Why not? I just don't like a lower lash line to be too dark. I'm just going to apply the teensiest tiniest bit just to add a little bit of smokiness. I'm just keeping a very light hand and basically just like buffing it into the root of my lower lashes. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Still keeping that same smudger brush, I'm going to take a bit more of that dark shade. I'm not going to do like a full wing, but I'm going to do a little bit of a smoky liner situation with this. So I'm just going to start stamping it across my lash line just in the outer corner here. I really don't want to drag it all the way in. And when I get to the end, I'm just going to very slightly drag it out, trying to be very careful. Once I'm done that, I'm just going to clean my brush a little bit on the back of my hand, and I'm going to diffuse it and blend it up towards my eyeshadow just so it blends it in a bit better, and diffusing the line just so it's more of a shadow rather than a line. I'm then going to take a little packing brush like this. This is Real Technique, and I'm going to take the lightest shade here and just kind of pack it onto my lid and like my inner corner here. And I really want to brighten this up and make it nice and bright. Also kind of dragging it onto my lower lash line in the inner corner here, packing it on towards like the middle of my lid, and then I'm taking my big fluffy brush and just kind of diffusing the edges ever so slightly. Okay, I think I'm happy with that, but it's prom, so obviously we need a bit of sparkle. I'm gonna take my little trusty Makeup by Mario Master Crystal Reflector. Mine is very beaten up and dirty and disgusting, but this is like the best shimmer eyeshadow ever in my opinion. I'm going to take this on the same sort of packing brush, but just a clean one, and I'm going to use like the sharper edge to pick it up, and then I'm just going to start applying it. I don't want it to be all over my lid. I just want to apply it right in like the crease, if that makes sense, kind of like a cut crease effect, and then kind of blend it out. That is so stunning. And then just kind of blend it out with circular motions the tiniest bit to make sure it's not like too harsh. Just taking that light shade again on like a small brush, and I'm just gonna pack a little bit more right in my inner corner just to brighten it up that a little bit more. I think it's time for lashes. I'm just going to start by curling them. I've got my Tweezerman curler. What curler you use makes such a big difference, and this is my favorite eyelash curler ever. Just making sure not to mess up the eyeshadow, but I like to curl the base of my lashes first and then kind of move to the middle of my lash and towards the end a little bit, and then I always go back to the base to curl it one last time. I feel like this just gives you the most even curl of your lash rather than it just sticking straight up, although I kind of messed up this lash right here, but that's okay. Going in with my one True Love mascara, Maybelline Sky High waterproof mascara. Because it's waterproof, it's really gonna make sure our lashes stay curled, and this also is so good at just like lengthening, thickening. It's amazing. So just packing that on there, and then I like to do just a tiny little bit of mascara on my lower lashes because I feel like if I've got nothing on there, it just looks a bit weird, but I know everyone has their preferences. I haven't actually worn like proper falsies in so long, but I want to add a little bit to this look, so I'm going to go in with these individual individual kind of cluster lashes. Oh, there's glue on the packaging. That's great. From Eye. These are the Luxe 3D. Have I tried this before? Why is there glue on the packaging if I've not tried them? Oh, I have tried them before. I think I'm just gonna use the medium length because I feel like the long ones are gonna be way too long. I think I'm just gonna do like 1 or 2. Let's start with 1 on each side and see how we feel. These sort of individual lashes are so easy, but you do have to kind of get the hang of it. It is a little bit difficult at first, but once you've got it, it's a lot easier in my opinion than like a full strip lash. And I'm just gonna lightly place it at the end of my lash line just to add a little bit of fullness at the end. My battery died, so sorry if the angle changed. I just did 2 of these, 2 of the short ones actually at the ends of my eyes. And to be honest, these are not really my favorite individual cluster lash. I feel like they're way too curved. Like they're like almost going into my eyeball, but it's okay. I feel like it still adds a little something. I'm gonna finish up my skin. It's time for cream blush. I've got this Charlotte Tilbury Pink Gasm blush. I just love doing this as like a last step of my makeup. I just take a little bit on the back of my hand, and then I like to go in with my beauty blender and just take a little bit, make sure that I don't have too much, but just kind of saturate the sponge, and then I kind of roll or like twist my sponge onto my cheek. And this is just my favorite way to do my blush now, because it also adds the most stunning glow, so you don't really need highlighter at all. Just making sure not to take it too far or like too close to my nose, and then kind of blending it up towards my temples. That is just stunning. Other side. Just taking my Easy Bake and Snatch powder again, just for a little final touch up, just slightly blending out the edges of my blush, and also using this to kind of snatch underneath my eyeshadow just so it's a bit more lifted, and also to catch any fallout. And then I'm actually going to take the Urban Decay All Nighter Extra Glow Setting Spray and doing a little round of this. This is basically the same as this one, but it just adds a bit more glow, and it's beautiful, but just not too much. So it does add quite a bit of glow. I don't want to be looking sweaty over here. For lips, are we really surprised? It's really not hard for me to pick out a lip liner for the day. Anastasia Mocha. Guys, I know, I was thinking like, should I switch it up? Why would I? I know what I like, and I like Anastasia Mocha. Just gonna line my lips, slightly overlining them, and then I think I just want to keep it very simple and just add a gloss. I love the Rimmel Thrill Seeker Glassy Glosses. This is the shade Cocoa Sugar. It's actually going a bit dirty, but these are so nice and glossy, and what's good about a gloss is it's easy to reapply. You can just keep it in your bag. You don't even need a mirror to reapply it, really. And this lip liner lasts so well. I usually really don't have to reapply it that much, and it just looks stunning. Final step, I'm gonna go in with the L'Oreal Infallible Setting Spray. This is like hairspray for your face. It's gonna make your makeup stick, you better believe me. So you kind of need to hold your breath as you spray this. Oh wait, the nozzle was kind of, oh no, the nozzle's kind of like blocked up. It smells like hairspray as well, but it really makes your makeup stick, which is exactly what we need. Then it's just time to take my hair out. I don't know if I should just do hair down or if I should take some of my hair back. I think I'm just gonna tie some of these front pieces back like this, but nothing too like slicked back or anything. I'm gonna leave like 2 little pieces in the front, I think. Just a bit of hairspray to make sure this kind of stays. Something like this. I think this would be very cute for prom. So that is the look, guys. We're all ready. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked the look. Please, if you recreate this for any sort of special event in your life, please let me know. Tag me, send me pictures. I would love to see it. I'm very happy with this. If I was wearing this makeup to my prom in 2015, I would have been very happy, I think. Love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Mwah!